have fun. Let's have a day. You want to buy a team?
I do, actually. I would love to own a team. That would make so many changes. I would be the black sheep of the owners.
I would love to own a team. What about you, Kratz? Would you like to own a team?
I don't have $2 million. I don't want to I don't want to deal with the headache.
Really? If I gave you a team, you wouldn't run it?
That's the best way. You can fire people when you want. You can hire people and then fire them 5 seconds later. Be like,
I enjoy winning.
You're hired. No, you're fired. Just kidding.
I enjoy winning. I don't.
Yeah, but if you do it right, you can win.
It's actually not that hard because most people don't want to win.
They just want money.
Right. So if you actually just win, the money actually will come. Anyway, how's everyone's day? Is it good? Is it pretty effing good?
I had an epic morning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like worth sharing or no?
I mean, you see my shirt. Can you see my shirt?
Yeah. Sip State.
Sip State, Mississippi State. My daughter signed her letter of intent to go play volleyball.
Let's go. Congratulations. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Congratulations, Ava. So
congratulations,
people are like,
Ava.
why is he wearing a Mississippi State shirt?
Love that. So I'll ask you the question.
Jonathan Papelbon.
Can I ask you the question I always ask? Will there be a celebratory dinner, toast, nothing for Ava tonight or in the next few days?
You know what there was?
What?
I showed up at her gym and put up some balloons for her.
Okay, that's fine. That counts. That's a celebration. That counts.
No, it was good. It was a good little program. There were 6 kids total.
You're going to give her one of those Max Muncy cookies.
If they ever show up. There's 6 girls, 6 kids, 4 girls, 2 boys that signed Division I out of school.
So you can give each of them a cookie.
If they ever show up.
They will.
They didn't get a cowbell, did she? She didn't get a cowbell yet?
She has to have a cowbell.
She didn't get it yet, did she?
No, she has one though. But the one you can't be given your first cowbell. You can't buy it yourself. You have to be giving it to someone.
I've heard about this on Foul
So
Factory.
her and her roommate, I think, are gonna do it for each other.
Trade.
But she has one. Yes, and those things are so damn loud and annoying. Go
to a Rays game.
No, these are worse. I swear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially when they're in your house and kids walking around going, like, oh my gosh.
If you want frustration, Charge the Mound is for you today.
Mm-hmm. I think they're pretty fucking good, personally.
Well, why take it from AJ when we can take it from the press conference that occurred after our show on Tuesday? Today's Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on Tuesday, we did catch some of Hal Steinbrenner's comments, owner of the New York Yankees. General manager Brian Cashman, who's been in the position forever, coming off, a 500-ish season for the Yanks, which does feel like the sky is falling. And he came out hustling with the media. So let's start with how his day was.
I think we have good baseball people, whether they're pro scouts, whether they're coaches, whether they're the manager, whether they're the general manager, whether they're analytics guys. I think we have good people. I'm getting permission requests all over the place. We just lost our bench coach to the Mets as a manager. I've got analytics guys trying to be poached to other clubs right now. Our player development program, no different than other places. But again, reinforcement that we got good people. I'm proud of our people, and I'm proud of our process. Doesn't mean we're firing on all cylinders. Doesn't mean we're the best in class. But I think we're pretty good, personally. And I'm proud of our people, and I'm also looking forward to 24 being a better year than 23.
Did you hear about the analytics department?
It's not, they're not run by analytics.
It's a teeny department.
So Brian Cashman said.
It's the smallest department in the AL East, which actually then pissed off the analytics people because they were like, hey, you don't think we're important? Also, it's not about the size. It's how you use it. It doesn't matter if you have 30 interns or not.
So you've said 4.5 inches.
Famous Austin Powers quote. But you understand what I'm saying, right? You could have one person in your analytics department, but if they're making decisions and recommendations like, hey, Josh Donaldson is going to be the best trade of all time if we make this acquisition based on his exit velocity, and do a deep dive on Tom Verducci's story on how that trade went down, it's pretty interesting. So, okay, your turn.
My question is he thinks they're pretty fucking good. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't come close to making the playoffs. So what are they pretty good at? And then you look at the offensive numbers. I think we have this.
Yeah, we do.
We have this tweet, right? I mean, hitting ranks. We can show those. So I don't.
Most of those stats don't matter, though.
No, 29th average, 29th hits, 26th OPS. That one matters.
Mm-hmm.
RBIs, they really don't care about. Runs, That's the most important one. You need to score more runs. Yeah, they hit a decent amount of homers. Doubles last, triples next to last, and at bats last. That means they're not getting on base. They're not hitting around. They're not getting Aaron Judge up there as many times as humanly possible. Yeah, I mean, when Aaron Judge also came out and told Cashman batting average and RBIs need to matter more, do you think he listens to him? And then Hal Steinbrenner says we got to bunt more?
But then did you hear what Cash said about Judge? They asked him about it. Cashman replied yesterday to reporters asking about Judge. He goes, quote, I asked him about that, and he talked about RBIs and batting average. They're important. I understand. Again, I think it just comes down to when you're dealing with 99 wins 2 years ago, everybody is happy. Look at how patient Kratz is, waiting for us to just be little kids and scream and shout. Okay, adult in the room. Go ahead. What do you got?
Well, I think there's too much there's too much going on around all this stuff. Like the whole bunting thing, like people relax. Who cares that he said it was bunting? Like this is the owner and the GM came out and spoke, and the owner kind of said, meh, whatever stuff. He didn't really give you much. He didn't get, he said they were going to do all these things and then they're not. But to me, if I'm Brian Cashman, put myself in Brian Cashman's shoes. Would you guys agree that this is possibly his last year if they don't do well?
No.
I would say no to that.
No? And also, what does not do well mean? Because for Yankee fans, they want to win a championship. If they make the playoffs as a wild card team and get bounced in a round.
In the American League East, the best division in baseball?
Is it though?
Not this year. The AL West was the best division in baseball. But you're saying if they make the playoffs as a wild card and then get bounced like in the wild card round of the DS, is that a successful season for the Yankees?
After winning 82 games, I would say it is. Ultimately, either way, we all agree that he is going to be the GM this year. Why not rally the guys? Why not say screw everybody else? We're internalizing this, and if we're wrong, I'm out anyway. So why not rally everybody and say, you know what? These players need to step up. I heard he needs the players to step up. I heard there's going to be accountability. I also heard that they're going to still make splashes in the market. So all of a sudden, we're sitting here going, oh, man, this is the worst move. He didn't give us anything. People are complaining now that it's the smallest analytical department when everyone's like, oh, it's too much analytics. And then he tells you it's the smallest. Oh, yeah, well, they shouldn't be the smallest. It should be the largest. It's like when Angel Hernandez gets out there and there's a borderline call, you're going to be like, Angel Hernandez sucks. Like, there's no answer that he could have given. To me, he came out and was passionate. He gave confidence to everyone that's in the organization. Whether that's right or wrong, only 2024 will decide that. Not us today on November the 8th.
You know what he sounded like? He sounded like the bitter, this is my last.
A bitter boy.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but we'll get to that. But he sounded like the kid that, like, I'm right and you're wrong, no matter what you say, right? Because then if you watch the whole press conference, what was it, Joel Sherman that asked him some other questions?
Do you want to hear that? We have it.
But they kind of
exactly, and it was very unconventional. Do you ever see that in a press conference? And also, is there accountability when you're talking that way? Because Kratz, the one thing that you're talking about that I'm lacking in what I'm hearing is accountability. Right? Coming out and defending everything. Oh, our analytics, it's not about that. It's smaller, okay? But our
analytics are right.
By the way, plenty of people have spoken about this that have done a deep dive. Michael Fishman works there, assistant GM for a long time. Super, super analytical dude. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have 80 interns like maybe one of the other AL East teams does. He has made significant decisions. You can talk to players about that. So that's also acting like we're stupid. So there's no accountability yesterday. Fact or fiction? Did you feel like there was accountability? Hey, we fucked up. Last season was a disaster. We are going to work on fixing it. It's all on me. What I heard was, for example, let's play this. Let's play the back and forth, for example, because Joel Sherman, who does a great job.
This is about Volpe.
And this is about player development and they're young players.
It was focused at Volpe, but then it went into player development.
And Peraza, right?
And Peraza, he's got nowhere to play. I mean, yeah, there's a whole bunch of things.
Let's run it.
Maybe you're making a point on behalf of others.
Young players come up and succeed in the major leagues. am I missing the young players who are coming up who
With
are
the Yankees.
offensively succeeding in the major leagues?
So you're saying that we can't produce major.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm asking. You described it as indisputable. I'm asking you where, ultimately.
But the example you want to say right now is Volpe, I guess, and Cabrera. Those are the two, right? Peraza.
Like if they were performing, they would have kept getting more at bats. They didn't perform, and they didn't.
But Peraza's not getting everyday reps. He's
Right,
got Glaber. He's got Volpe now. He's got LeMahieu. Prior to that was Donaldson. There was not a lane for him to even play. So I don't even know why you used Peraza.
Well, these are your young players.
I understand that, but he's got to have a spot to play for you to be able to use
Well,
his
if he
name.
would have hit, he would have played more. He didn't hit, so he didn't play more, right?
Well, where's he going to play?
Well, if he hit, he would have played.
Who would he, if he hit? Like, is Abbott Costello. If he hit, who's he taking out? LeMahieu at third? Is he taking out Volpe at short? Is he taking out Glaber Torres, who was one of the best second basemen in the American League last year?
If you want to win, you're going to play the guys who are hitting. If he hit, he would have played, right?
I guess if he hit better than Volpe, he would have played shortstop, and he would have won the thing out of spring training. But Volpe won it out of spring training. I think it's a stupid discussion that we're having, personally. I think our player development system, all that matters from my end to you is I think our player development system does a great job. You're questioning whether it does. That's your job to do. Proof will be in the pudding. Let's see how. So if Volpe comes up crushing it this year, are you going to be like, hey, I guess their development system does produce hitters?
I reviewed the movies in front of me. The movies this year weren't good.
Okay,
if the movies are good next year, we'll have a different discussion.
All right, and then I can hear you say, you know what? Remember last year? I look forward to that. Yeah. I look forward to you telling me that when Volpe crushes it offensively this year for us, that you'll say, hey man, I guess your development program did a good job. And it was just sea legs under him his first maiden voyage year with not much AAA under his belt. I mean, I feel it's pretty basic.
There's so many questions I have after that. Then why is he in the big leagues if he wasn't ready? Basically, if he was maiden voyage without his sea legs, then why is he in the big leagues?
And do you want them to write nicely about a bad season that they're admitting, obviously, as they should, is bad? That's his job.
Cashman sounds so like, he's like, it's not, oh, no, I can't wait to prove you wrong. And like,
it's defensive.
It's very defensive. Like, it's not, I understand what Erik's saying, like, rally the troops, but he's not rallying the troops. He's more like, oh, no, wait till this year. We're going to prove to you guys that we're right and you're wrong. Like, screw y'all. Like, and for him to say we're pretty fucking good, okay, they might be good next year, but this past year you can't look back and say we were pretty fucking good because they weren't. They had Garrett Cole
and Judge for half a season.
They had Garrett Cole in the starting rotation. And other than that, it was mismatched.
It was a 4.5 ERA.
It was a hodgepodge, whatever you want to call it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Their bullpen was decent, but their lineup, when Judge was out, was awful. Rizzo obviously was hurt. But everyone else they tried, Torres had a nice year, okay. But not where you're like, oh my gosh, Glaber Torres MVP. But Volpe was below average, league average. Donaldson obviously got shit canned to Milwaukee. Right, Peraza, whoever else you want to throw in there, they were all below average. Judge was hurt for 2 months. So to say we're pretty good, that's a bold statement.
They're probably trying to say we're all going to progress next year and not regress like everybody did this year. Like, are all these guys that had bad years going to have the same bad years again?
Well, we don't know, though. Like a Volpe, maybe that's his year. Maybe that's his year.
But on the other end, too, you have some aging veterans who might not bounce back.
Stanton's not getting younger. Rizzo's not getting younger. LeMahieu's
you don't know.
LeMahieu's had a few years in a row like this now.
Yeah.
It's not like this is LeMahieu's first down year. He's had a couple down years in a row now. Rizzo's numbers have slowly started coming back down, right? Stanton's had a couple years. He can't stay healthy.
Judge is a legend. If he plays a full season, it's different.
Of course. They tried Bader. He didn't work.
Yeah, right? Bader had a tough year wherever he was when he moved on, too. Okay, let's put it this way, Kratz. You have a press conference after the season that just went down. You've had a month to kind of let everything sink in. They did say that they were going to make changes. Everyone said that. The team said that. Judge said that.
Every team's saying that, though. Except maybe the Rangers. Every other team's saying we're making changes.
Right. Okay, but that's fine. So now you're in front of reporters. What's your main message when you step up? Because I know you speak well and you're super accountable. Wouldn't you just be like, hey, guys, we're going to go for it in the free agent market. This lineup's not going to look the same exact way it did. Last year sucked. That's not the Yankee way. And we're going to be way better. And if they say, hey, what about your analytics department? Yeah, we're going to make some changes there too. Okay. If players are pissed about how we're doing things, if fans are pissed about how we're doing things, it doesn't matter that much because it's up to us. We work in this thing, right? You got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. Fans are going to get pissed at everyone. And then the next, they're going to boo Judge in the playoffs and then move on, obviously, 5 seconds later. That's fine. We understand that. But I think going after reporters when they're writing pretty accurate stories about documenting the team, that's their job.
I think part of this is because he hasn't spoken that much. He hasn't spoken. So now he's trying to answer about the Gallows stuff. He's trying to answer about Sonny Gray stuff. He's trying to more transparency throughout all of this might not lead to this blow up. It felt like it kind of all bottled up. But I felt like it all bottled up because they believe in their process. Whether Scott Braun or Erik Kratz or the millions of Yankees fans believe in their process, they believe in it. And what's the other choice? What's the other choice?
Their players don't believe in it, though.
Who doesn't believe
I feel like there's a disconnect. The lead head honcho of your team, the captain, the dude who's running shit in the clubhouse, Aaron Judge, does not ever go after anyone, right? He is very keep it to the vest Jeter style for the most part, right? It's just like a very appropriate, calculated.
Jeter didn't have to worry about this if they were winning.
Exactly. But what did Judge say?
He said he
wouldn't have to rethink how things are going here.
Yeah, no doubt. But they can't change anything, right? What did you want Cashman to come out and say? Hey, you know what? We're actually pursuing Juan Soto, and we're going to pay whatever it takes to get Yamamoto and Bellinger's coming in too. Like, there you go. Like, he's got to still toe his line of the fact that, you know what? We're going to try to do our thing. We're not desperate. If they come out and we're like, hey, we're desperate, every team is going to be like, oh, you want our guy? Oh, you want Luis Robert? Oh, that'll cost you 9 prospects because I know you're desperate and you need a center fielder.
I don't think that matters. I don't think someone's listening in the comments being like, I'm going to ask for more in a trade. My thing is,
Chris Getz came out and said he hates his team. Does that mean people are going to try to take the people they want for less? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
How many other people are defending their analytics department when they're also having the head of their analytics department essentially, right, hire a firm, and he's in charge of hiring that firm to internally review how they run analytics when people have been writing for a while now about not how large the department is or whatever. They just feel like from players to writers to plenty of anonymous sources that would get fired if they said anything, that they're doing it wrong on that front. And so to defend that to the death just now, yesterday, is fucking weird.
It still goes back to this for me also, Kratz. After Aaron Judge, who have they developed that's been an impact guy?
That's what they asked in that little 2-minute exchange.
That's what I'm saying. Who have they developed? I mean, Dominguez was there for, a couple weeks before he got hurt.
I think he's going to be good.
But Volpe was below average offensively. Cabrera, Peraza, they haven't been anything good. Don't say Gleyber Torres because he was traded. Wells didn't really produce offensively.
I would go guys that have not stuck. You can't go as high as Judge because nobody's developed Judge. So that's, to me, you wash that off the table.
That was 2017 he came up. So now that's
Gary Sanchez,
Colin,
and Miguel Andujar. But you're talking about them
Miguel
being developed.
Come on.
And both of those are failed stories.
Yeah, they both failed. Gary Sanchez was supposed to be a Hall of Fame guy. He's gone.
Once they made it, they did not continue that development. So to me, that would be the question. Why did they not continue? Was the work not done the same once they got to the big leagues?
And when did Gary Sanchez come up?
16.
So he was ahead before Aaron Judge. So he was before this whole wave of analytics that they're talking about.
Oh,
what about Jordan Montgomery?
No, I'm talking about position player hitting.
Oh, but I'm saying Montgomery leaves and now he's a fucking stud.
I'm not denying.
You sign Rodon, who can't stay healthy, right? You bring in Herman, you bring in Montas, who was hurt.
Well, and that's another story, too, we got conflicting reports on Montas just now in the last 24 hours.
Cashman said he was healthy, and they were like, wow.
What did Steinbrenner say? We took a
risk
there.
Took a risk that he might be hurt, yeah.
Well, which one is it? So, you know what we should do? Get a Yankee writer to help us out on some of this. So, Erik Boland is going to join us on the other side in just a sec. He writes for Newsday. He was there on the scene. He felt it. he felt the saliva from all of the spit coming out into the crowd. Poll question, watchstadium.com/foul territory. How effing good are the Yankees? A, World Series contenders, B, wild card at best, C, non-contenders, or D, bitter boys, which we'll get to later. And this is not just a Yankee show. We haven't talked about them in like 6 weeks. It is time. Erik joining us next. There he is. Love the foliage.
Council got paid $8+ million a year. Why is he anointed the best manager in baseball? Like, Bruce Bochy's won 4 World Series in like 10 years.
Who said he's the best manager in
Whenever
baseball?
people are like, oh, Bruce Bochy, the best manager, or Cricket Council, the best manager in baseball. That's why he's getting paid so much.
Best manager available.
Best manager available, maybe. He's never won.
So you don't think the money was worth it?
I'm just saying he's never won. I'm not saying, listen, when you're an owner, you can spend the money however you want. But I just feel like if he's worth $8 million, shit, Bruce Bochy's worth like $100 million.
Bruce Bochy's been well paid for years.
I know.
I don't know what his current situation is. I know it's 4.5 or lower because that was reported by multiple people that was the highest amount. Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably many managers that are going to get to the end of a contract and go, hey.
Yeah, and you know what every owner's going to do?
Say,
suppress. Find someone else. That's what they've been doing for years.
Okay, so Bruce Bochy signed a 3-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's so far away. It's only been 1 season. Let's say he had signed a 1-year contract. Doesn't he go to the Rangers and say, hey, guys, 3 more years, $10 million a year?
He's probably worth it. If Council's worth 8.
Yes.
Are they going to let him walk after they won the World Series and probably made $100 million this postseason?
That's the wrong team because that team will spend the money.
And now back to foul territory.
All right, let's hash this out. The fiery press conference from yesterday. Erik Boland on the scene, joining us from Newsday. You can follow him at EBOLAND11 on Twitter. Erik, great to have you on, man. Looks like you're enjoying some nice weather out there and some nice theater. So how were the press conferences for you yesterday to cover?
Well, first of all, Scott, AJ, and Erik, nice to be on with you. And Erik, especially to be on with somebody who spells their first name correctly.
That was my first.
Yeah.
That was my first comment there. Me, you, and Eric Neander.
That's right. That's right. It's a very a close-knit circle.
It's an elite group. It's Swedish for the great, but just saying.
Best Eriks I know.
There's not a lot of us. To answer your question, I think the press conferences, particularly Brian Cashman's, were extraordinary. I just finished my 15th year covering the Yankees, and I don't think I've ever heard a Cashman press conference that even compares to that. He's been angry before, but he usually, even in anger, is able to get out pretty coherent sentences with strong arguments behind them. We really did not hear or see much of that yesterday. He obviously came in with a little bit of calculation of defending his analytics group that has come under fire this season in ways that it never has before. It's basically really been, and I referenced it in my story today in Newsday, it's basically been, roses and plaudits thrown to that group about how cutting edge they are. You remember the stories about the gas station in Tampa that was supposed to redefine pitching development. It really has been almost to a degree over the top about how cutting edge and how ahead of the game they are compared to other teams. And this year, the department came under, in my estimation, and I've actually been writing criticisms of their analytics department for at least 3 years now, deserved criticism, but he obviously came in with that agenda of defending that group, and even questions that he was asked that didn't relate to analytics. he would bring it back to that. And so if I was a fan, I would have been irate at both Hal's press conference and then Cash's, because essentially the message, even though they said there may be some changes, they were very cloak and dagger about what those may be. And if I was a fan, the message that I would have took out of it was nothing to see here, folks, and trust us to fix this.
So let's start with the analytics, because for me, I feel like that's the biggest problem, and that's just like an easy punchline for both sides, really, right? Fans are reading your work. They are paying attention. There are plenty of people like you doing a deep dive on what's going on there, talking to players, talking to anonymous sources who have to be anonymous because they'd be fired if they spoke freely and publicly with their name attached to how some shit is fucked up. I felt like there was no accountability in terms of how that's being run. They have the guy who's kind of running that department hiring an external group, probably spending millions of dollars to review them when he should be part of that review. And if he's the one doing the hiring, that's weird. Talking about Fishman, the assistant general manager, who I've heard a lot about for years and how they're running things. Did you find it insulting that he said they had the smallest analytics department in the American League East, as if the number of humans in a department, including interns, actually makes a difference in terms of how they are translating the analytics to their roster decisions and their strategic decisions?
Yeah, like I said, Scott, Brian usually, again, even if he's angry, will make cogent arguments, and that one fails on so many logical levels, saying that they have the smallest analytics department in the American League East, and at the same time have the largest pro scouting department. But if you're not listening to one of those groups, then what's the point? It doesn't matter. I actually had a text from an analytics person from another team earlier today. I've gotten a lot of text and calls since Cashman's press conference, both from inside the organization and outside. And sorry, more anonymous quotes here, but as one person said to me, said, the Marlins a few years ago had about 2 people in their analytics department, and they were making all of the decisions. I didn't necessarily, dig deep into that one because I don't cover the Marlins, but it has nothing to do whatsoever with numbers. It has to do with influence. And I've been digging in on this particular topic for probably at least 5 years. I've started writing critical things about the analytics department 3 years ago, more and more certainly this year. And the overwhelming thought that you get from people both inside the organization and outside the organization is that the analytics groups with the New York Yankees run pretty much all facets of the franchise. And you can look at something as simple as coaching hires from the lower levels all the way up through the big leagues. What's one thing that the vast majority of those guys have in common is that they come from predominantly analytics backgrounds. You're telling me that that's something that's being pushed by people outside the analytics department? It's kind of laughable to make that contention. And so, look, I haven't written anything where I've said that people should be fired and that there should be house cleaning. I know plenty of other people have opined on that. The point that I have been making for several years and really dug in on this year was that the group's influence needs to be curbed somewhat. And the Yankees saying that they're balanced and saying that they brought in Omar Minaya and Brian Sabian and well before that, Jim Hendry and Tim Narian's name get mentioned all the time as coming from more of a scout's background, and that somehow is evidence of balance. Well, saying that you're balanced doesn't make it so. And again, the overwhelming majority of people that you talk to, both inside the organization and outside the organization, is that the analytics group not only has carte blanche on pretty much every decision that gets made, they're never called to accountability. And I remember a quote that I got someone from inside the organization earlier this season, something along these lines. It's never their fault. It's always somebody else's when something doesn't go right. And so, you hear that for 5-6 years. You have to imagine that there's some truth to it. It's not just bitter ex-players or bitter boy, as Cashman referred yesterday to Ben Rua, who created a little bit of a stir with you guys a few months back. It's not bitter ex-players, bitter ex-employees. There's a lot of bitterness from people inside the organization The vast majority of my sources on this are people inside the organization, from everywhere from the clubhouse through upper levels of management in baseball operations. And the Yankees wouldn't like that. Even a few people in the analytics department itself. It's all about, again, I can only speak to my reporting on this issue. It's all about curbing the influence and having more of the balanced approach that the Yankees have claimed that they have. But when you look at the decision making, for the most part, it doesn't back that up.
Erik, besides you and Erik Kratz being the second and third most famous Erik with a K behind Erik Estrada, chips all the way.
Don't never forget Erik Estrada.
That's
I
right.
grew up on that.
Oh, well, see, there you go. Maybe that's who you were named after. Besides that, I hear what you're saying about the analytics, and I hear what you're saying about people inside the organization. But how do the Yankees fix this? What's the road to fixing this? Is Brian Cashman didn't say fans are clamoring like we need to blow this up, we need to start over. Brian Cashman was defensive, defiant, right? About like this isn't the problem, this is that, we're fucking good. But how do they fix this? Because I just asked Erik Kratz, name me one offensive player that the Yankees have developed since Aaron Judge, and we couldn't come up with one.
No, I mean it's tough, and AJ, you bring up yet another point that was contended yesterday was about their minor leagues, and one of the things Brian said was how great their player development is, and the proof is in the proverbial pudding, and it just really isn't there. And by the way, a lot of the coaches that Aaron Judge was helped along the way, and he has said has helped him along the way in his player development. When he was in the minor leagues, those coaches aren't there anymore. They've systematically gutted their system of, again, there's some exceptions here and there, but for the most part of experienced, battle-tested coaches. And I don't have to, I feel like I'm almost talking down to you, AJ and Erik. I mean, you guys certainly know this better than me. But everything, when I've talked to players over the years, those battle-tested coaches who have seen everything twice in their careers were invaluable to so many players when they were coming up through the minor leagues. And the Yankees have again systematically just gotten rid of those guys and replaced them overwhelmingly with numbers guys. And I can tell you, and Brian was very defensive about a lot of things yesterday, but certainly player development was one of them. I had a player tell me about when Didi Gregorius was rehabbing an injury in 2019, and he made a comment to a couple of players when he was healthy and was back in the big league clubhouse, and he said, quote, "You wouldn't believe some of the what going on in our minor leagues." This is something players talk about regularly, and I think that the Yankees, because of for a variety of reasons, words that I hear often inside the organization are arrogant and condescending when it comes to not everyone in that group, but a lot of them, is that they are ignoring the fact that this has entered the clubhouse and that it's something that bothers players. And it's one of the reasons why you saw an in-season coaching change with the hitting coach, with Dylan Lawson, who, and no personal offense to him, but he was entirely a product of the analytics department. He was their minor league hitting coordinator, was raised through the ranks to the point of eventually becoming the big league hitting coach. And basically, players were grumbling, like, could we get somebody with a little bit of experience, please, that has some idea of what it's like to stand in a big league batter's box. I had a player at the end of the season say to me, I was talking to him about Sean Casey, and Casey came in obviously with no coaching experience, but he played 12 years in the big leagues, was over a 300 hitter. And one of the players said to me, it's been nice to just be able to talk hitting with somebody who speaks the language and isn't just fluent in exit velocity and numbers and launch angle, et cetera, someone that you can just sit down and shoot the what with. I guess I can say shit on this podcast.
Yes, please.
Shoot the shit with about hitting. And I think that the Yankees have ignored that aspect for years now, and the bill to a degree came due in 2023, and to just sort of dismiss what's evident in the clubhouse when you talk to some guys about it. I think there's a degree of negligence to that, and the flippant way that Brian dismissed the comments that Aaron Judge made to a group of us in Kansas City the final weekend of the season, when he said that there are some numbers that need to be more emphasized than others. And when Brian was asked about it, he was like, yeah, it was batting average and RBI and and then moved on to something else. Not saying that Aaron Judge should be the decision maker with the organization, but if you have a player of that ilk saying something like that publicly, and that's the first time that Judge was kind of critical in his own way of the Yankees' use of analytics, if he feels that way, I guarantee you a lot of other guys feel that way. And I know that for a fact because I've talked to players about that.
So I'm going to put you in Scott's favorite land, role play land. Okay? Erik, you are now Brian Cashman. How should you have come out in this press conference and spoken to the fan base, spoken to the media? How should he have approached this, and what should he have said?
I mean, that's a great question, Erik, and I'm not sure. And one thing I do agree with that Brian said yesterday was that words aren't going to fix this. There's nothing that I can say today that's going to appease anyone or make anyone happy. We need to win games, and that's the bottom line. But I think there needed to be some self-evaluation, some internal review, if you will, and say, you know what? We've shoved all of our chips to the table, and this has been years in the making. And Erik, you were with the organization for a short period of time, and I don't think, and please correct me if I've said anything wrong about the way that players feel in the clubhouse on some of this stuff. They certainly don't say it on the record, but I, my experience over the years is that there's plenty of dialogue, amongst you guys behind the scenes and kind of laughing at some of the stuff that gets shoved down your throats with regularity. And just say, you know what, we actually do need to do a full internal review. This past season was completely unacceptable, which is something Hal said, and Brian feels the same way. But then instead of saying that it's unacceptable, but we're really not going to make any changes of significance, say everything's on the table for evaluation, and we're going to do some real soul searching on the way the franchise has been operated for the last 5 to 10 years. Again, this didn't just start last year, and just acknowledge that, you know what, there's an organizational rot that has taken place in recent seasons that led to last year. It didn't just blow up because of injuries and underperformance, the way that that Cashman and Hal at other times have talked about with regularity, and really say, yes, we do need to make some significant changes with the way that we operate. And again, when I've written about this, my whole point has never been that a bunch of people need to be fired. It's just a matter of establishing some kind of organizational balance where things other than numbers and data science, et cetera, is taken into account with decisions. And when Hal yesterday said that, and I don't mean to pick on Joey Gallo, he's a very popular guy in the Yankees clubhouse. He was respected by players, respected by coaches for how he worked, what a good teammate that he was, and in the face of absolutely blistering criticism on the part of media and fans when he was in New York, the way he handled it earned a lot of respect from his teammates. But when Hal yesterday said that it was unanimous organizationally to bring Gallo aboard, that just simply is not true. There were red flags that were raised about his ability to handle the spotlight of New York. Within 20 minutes of them making that trade at the 2021 trade deadline, I had 3 people from the Rangers organization on the phone telling me off the record that there's no way this guy can handle what entails playing at Yankee Stadium, wearing the pinstripes or wearing the road grays, that he hears everything, that he's thin-skinned, and that was the worst possible thing. And if me, as some grunt newspaper reporter, had access to some of that information, and by the way, 2 of the people I talked to were in the Rangers organization and were part of his development there, so they know Joey pretty well. If I had access to that information as a grunt reporter, you can't tell me that the Yankees' $6 billion plus organization didn't have access to that if they wanted to have access to it. And so to say that was a unanimous decision on the part of baseball operations just simply, is not true. And not that trade needs to be relitigated, but I think it's just an example of many where there were warnings, there were signs, there was ready information that trade more than likely was not going to work out, but because of, Gallo had a good on base percentage, perfect, swing for Yankee Stadium as a lefty bat. The numbers guys felt that they could get that on base percentage and his batting average up just a little bit, and we're just going to ignore the red flags because there's no metric for them.
How do we know? And I'm going to kind of put you to the test a little bit because I know the answer, and maybe you don't. How do we know they're not making changes in the background because Cashman didn't say, oh, well, this is the change we're making? And I'm going to test you by saying, who hired Dylan Lawson to be the big league hitting coach?
Well, I mean, ultimately that's Brian Cashman, but he's doing that at a strong recommendation from Mike Fishman in the analytics group, because they put him in place in the minor leagues as the hitting coordinator, and then just sort of raised him through the ranks, from there. So I mean, but again, the final decision is Brian's, and again, my point has been all along is that listen to some other people in your organization outside of the analytics sphere once in a while.
But they made the change. Brian Cashman has never once fired a hitting coach or manager in his 20-plus years of tenure during the season. So to me, that's a significant change of course. I understand you can't change an entire department. You can't change an entire minor league system. But to me, that's a significant change in a direction that, hey, you know what? We don't see that it's working.
Absolutely, Eric. And that move, number one, we all saw what the Yankees offense was the first half of the season. So it was a completely, defensible move. And also, players behind the scenes were kind of clamoring for some kind of a change. In Dylan's first year, his assistant hitting coach, and I put assistant in air quotes, was Hensley Mullins, who of course won 3 World Series on Bruce Bochy's staff with the Giants. He played in the big leagues, obviously, and players, particularly veteran players, very early in 2022, were going to Hensley and talking to him. This past season, Brad Wilkerson, who became an assistant hitting coach, the same thing was happening. What do Brad and Hensley have in common? They both played in the big leagues. And let me just diverge for a second here. It doesn't mean that every coach needs to have big league playing experience. That's not the point. Kevin Long is a beloved hitting coach, has had success everywhere he's been, including with the Yankees. Kevin never played in the big leagues, but as one prominent player with the Yankees told me when Long was there, he said, yeah, he never played in the big leagues, but you feel that K-Long is in the batter's box with you every pitch, and he gets how effing hard this game is. And a lot of the analytics guys, again, not all, but a lot of them don't seem to grasp that, and players, frankly, in a lot of cases, resent the hell out of it. But that move, I think that was more a move of desperation rather than a course change in how the organization operates. Now, the fact that they may hire James Rowson as the hitting coach, and it looks like that there's a pretty good possibility that takes place, that would be another good sign. He was the minor league hitting coach 2 times in his coaching career, including in 2014 through 16, where he overlapped with Aaron Judge, and I know Aaron Judge thought a lot of routes, and so that certainly would be a positive sign. But there would need to be a lot more moves made than the 2 that we're talking about to where you could draw a conclusion that they are going to change somewhat the way they operate, and again curb the influence of the analytics group.
And obviously, there's been way too many dudes that have left lately, too, like Sonny Gray, Aaron Hicks, Jordan Montgomery, that are thriving elsewhere. Just want to get to one more point here. We're going to step aside for a quick minute, Eric, if you can stick around for a few more minutes. Do you have a few more minutes?
Sure.
Or you got to jump?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure, no problem.
We're going to step aside for a quick sec. So we got to hit one break, and we'll come back and want to ask you about a couple other things from there before we say goodbye. Great stuff here from Erik Boland. Be right back.
I know you're not a Milwaukee apologist, but as a ex-Milwaukee player, how do you console Milwaukee fans who have lost their golden child, the bat boy to player to manager that takes them from one game from the World Series? how do you console that organization as a organization in the Cubs who didn't win for 116 years?
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's tough to see a manager that is clearly highly valued leave for your chief rival. How do you console that group? I think the only way you can do it is say, hey, you're division winners. You guys are the ones that have consistently made the playoffs. If you want to look at the great Cubs team from 2016 and the downfall of that group, a lot of it had to do with the Milwaukee Brewers taking the division in 2018, taking the division again, or I believe they had a great September in 2019, another month when the Cubs collapsed, similar to this past September. So, I mean, the Brewers have been a more consistently winning organization over the past 5 years. Since that World Series that the Cubs won, the Brewers have ascended while the Cubs have kind of gone down. So, yeah, it's hard to console them when your chief rival takes a great manager from you. You finally find this guy that you think is a part of the community and part of the future, and he kind of takes them to heights that they really haven't been to, at least in the recent past, and leaves for the Cubs. That stings. I can't imagine the feeling for the fans there, and I know ownership wasn't thrilled, and people aren't happy in Milwaukee. But all you can do is play it out on the field. If they beat the Cubs on the field, none of it matters, right?
And now back to foul territory. Back with Erik Boland from Newsday at eBoland11 on Twitter. Does an awesome job covering this, and it's super important right now, obviously, with the press conference yesterday. So, Erik, we don't do this often, but I was like, we have to step aside for a sec just to get a break in. But I wanted to make sure that we touched on this topic because it was only mentioned for a second. I've never seen anything like this in a press conference. You tell me if you have. So let's show first what Cash said. And actually, I looked at the transcript because I wasn't there, and this was just some of what was put out there. Apparently, there was even more put out there about Ben Ruda, who, by the way, came on this show completely organically. We were talking about the Yankees. He's in our chat, which is very active every day, and told us, hey, there's more to the story here. Came on the show as we would bring on any kind of baseball person in that realm. So one of the funnier moments of Cash's availability was him calling former Yankees minor league player Ben Ruda bitter boy. He called it embarrassing that he was giving a platform considering he got worse after leaving the organization. I saw more of what he said. He was basically saying that I'll paraphrase here, that most of what Ben was saying was a lie about hit FX and that they don't care about strikeouts and other shit that they were doing. I mean, Ben told us about how they weren't allowed to use a T at times, which why the fuck would he make that up? But here's Ben, who said, headline, quote, bitter boy Brian Cashman doesn't know how many current players in his own org and former Yankees players now in other orgs reached out in support of Ben Ruda following his foul territory clips. Embarrassing that he doesn't have a pulse on his own organization. To me, this is the epitome of disconnect with your players. Just like we talked about with Judge, you should be saying, hey, Aaron has a lot of great points. I'm sure also Aaron didn't go sit down with him and just say, hey, batting average and RBIs are everything. I'm sure there was a deeper discussion to that. Aaron's a pretty smart fucking baseball guy. So on the same realm here, you're attacking a Yankees minor league player and pointing to his stats with another team like that makes any difference in the world. And yes, Ben has said he got like 50 plus calls, all from players and coaches and people within the organization afterwards, giving him more information about what's gone on since then. So to not only try and like put down a player in their org from the recent past, but then also to say he's lying. Have you ever seen anything like that in a press conference like this?
I can't say that I have. I mean, I've certainly been in on a lot of Brian Cashman press conferences and just a lot of press conferences, overall in my career. I certainly can't recall that. And frankly, I mean, I thought that was beneath Brian a little bit. I have a lot of respect for Brian. I've always had a professional relationship in the 15 years that I've covered the team with him. I think that he certainly has taken to heart a lot of the criticism that him and his analytics group have taken. But I thought that I think he's better than that. I know he's better than that. And I have no doubt, by the way, that Ben did hear from people inside and outside the organization, because certainly I've been talking to a lot of those people too in the last 12 hours or so, or however long it's been since Brian's press conference. But to the substance of what he said on your show, and I referenced it in an analysis piece that I did sometime in August about the Yankees' use of analytics, et cetera, was that what Ben said really wasn't new, because going back probably 5 years, I was hearing from scouts from other organizations that are assigned the Yankee system from top to bottom, and they were telling me some of the same things. And one of them, who comes from the analytics side of things, by the way, who said to me that watching the Yankees minor leaguers, it was like watching softball batting practice, where it was just launch angle, exit velocity, and hope that a few of the fly balls go over the fence. And again, I've been hearing that for a long time, and it kind of backs up the substance of what Ben was talking about. And again, I refer back to Didi Gregorius, who I don't think anyone would refer to as bitter boy or not a legitimate major leaguer, and the comments that he made to Yankees teammates when he rehabbed in the minor leagues for a handful of games, and then got to the big league clubhouse and said to some of his teammates, "You wouldn't believe some of the shit going on in our minor leagues." So I'm not sure how you attack his credibility. Didi Gregorius, last time I checked, had the numbers and games played, et cetera, to back up that he had a pretty damn good major league career. Is he angry? Is he bitter? Is he someone that has no idea what he's talking about and making things up out of whole cloth? I highly doubt it. So
he was worse when he left the Yankees.
I know that's not the case.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Out of the two, though, it sounds like Cashman's the one that's bitter. Honestly, like, he sounds like the bitter one over the fact that Ben Rutter called out what he's experienced.
He wasn't even calling out Cash. He was calling out.
He actually
certain minor
away
league
from
shit.
Cash.
Yeah.
The things he said, he was like, "This is how they do it." He wasn't like saying it didn't work. He was just saying, "This is how they do it. It didn't work for me." He wasn't like, I mean, obviously the proof is in the pudding, as Brian Cashman has said, but by Cashman even stooping to this level, he sounds like the bitter one. At least Brian Cashman's tuning into foul territory. Appreciate it.
Well, Erik, we appreciate the insight, man. This was important, obviously, during this time period. You do a great job. Love following your work. And thank you for joining us for the first time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the sunshine out there.
Scott, Erik, AJ, it was my pleasure. Hope to talk to you guys again down the road.
Thank you. Same here. You were great. Erik Boland with us on FT. Be right back.
Where was it for you? What was holding it up for you? Was there somebody like you had to wait for?
It just depended on the year. It just depended on where I was the year. And I remember one year, 2014, I had an offer I had almost the exact same offer from the Twins and the Red Sox before I went to sign with the Red Sox. And I was like, all right, which one do I go to? And I remember I was in Hawaii. It was Thanksgiving. I was in Hawaii with my family, and I'm like, man, what do I do here? Which one do I sign with? And I was like, all right, I think the Red Sox. I've already played for the Twins. Looking back, I probably should have went back to the Twins, And then I picked the Red Sox, and then like 2 days later, I get a call from Gardenhire, and he's like, man, I want you to come sign with us. And I was like, shit, if you would have called me 2 days ago, I had already told the Red Sox that I was going to go there. So it was like, I told him, I was like, damn, Guardy, if you would have called me 2 days ago, I would have been there. Instead, I went to the Red Sox. But listen, I can always say I got to play for the Red Sox. So, I mean, they paid me a shitload. The Twins are going to pay me close to the same amount. So it was fine. It was just one of those where it was like, damn, literally, I'll never forget. I was at Pearl Harbor, and I was on the phone with John Farrell. And at the time, it was I was at Pearl Harbor,
Sherrington.
John Farrell and Sherrington, and
Yeah.
I'm on a phone call with him as I'm going across the water to the USS Arizona, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I gotta go, guys. I'm going to this place where you can't really talk, because once you cross, you're not really supposed to speak because there's still bodies in the water, So I'm like, can I call you guys back when I get back across land? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then we had another conversation, and slept on it, talked to my family for a little while, and made a decision. But it was tough because both they want to know, like, quick, they want to know. I want to know now. And so, chose the Red Sox. Might not have been the right choice, but it was what it was. And loved playing in Boston. And
Got to check it off the bucket list.
That's right. I can always say I was a Red Sox for a few months. And now, back to foul territory.
Back at it on FT Live on Stadium, and a shout out as always to the latest offer on BetMGM. Use the bonus code FOUL when you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, by the way, Kratz and myself will be at Borgata next week in a little poker tournament. How you doing? We're getting ready for it. And lastly, your poll results on how the Yankees are right now. That just left me. Damn it. There it is. Non-contenders is winning. Bitter Boys is second. Wild Card is third. Title or bust is fourth. Thank you.
That's kind of about the order you'd think, maybe. But Yankee fans are bitter anyway, so they're always looking for the bad downside of it.
They're not bitter if they win titles, but they are demanding.
They're bitter if you don't win titles.
So they're bitter right now because they haven't won since 09.
It's been a while.
Well, if you're used to making the playoffs every year, and then you don't make the playoffs.
But they're really fucking good. We are really fucking good, people.
Ken Rosenthal right at the top of the next
He's
hour.
He's not really
FT
fucking
YouTube.
good, by the way.
He's amazing.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's up? FT Live. Hour 2. Kratz, you think I was too harsh in hour 1?
You think you were too harsh?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm just asking. I'm literally asking. Do you think I'm going too hard on the topic?
I
don't even care about what the on-field product is. I'm like, you're doing an hour presser, like kind of berating reporters and acting like everyone's
the Yankee way. Normally they're smug and they're like, I'm talking down to you. I'm the GM of the Yankees.
Like
now he was like, you don't talk to me like that.
So isn't that? I mean, I kind of called for it earlier in the year. Like, don't be so professional. Like, have some fire. I love the fire. I might be the only person that is going to go on record and say I love the fire.
No way, Kratz. I love the fire too. I absolutely love the fire. My only thing is have accountability with it. That's all.
So
I felt like there was no accountability.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that made the trade for Sonny Gray. He's the one that made the trade for Joey Gallo. He's the one that hired these people.
Well, let's ask Ken. Okay, so unless you've been living under a rock,
he could.
Not Ken. I'm talking about fans.
Oh,
Brian Cashman had quite a few quotes. You can backtrack to anything we just covered. We really went at length into all of it just now. Is Ken good? Bring him in there. What's up?
Yeah.
I love the backgrounds at the GM
he's at the
meetings.
Biltmore. Look at him. He's so fancy.
All right, here we go. Scott,
At the Four
Scott, let me
Seasons.
talk. It's the Omni, whatever it's called. I'm not staying here. So AJ's next question is, okay, Ken, where are you staying? You're not getting that information either. You just admire the beauty here, AJ. I did this just for you, man.
I was trying to. I was going to send you like a bottle of wine or something, Ken, but since you won't tell me where you're staying, I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, what a shame.
He's good. He's good. He's a little busy out there. Let's start here. I mean, we spent the entire first hour on the Yankees, which obviously we cover all teams, but we also haven't talked about the Yanks in a while. And to me, that press conference stood out so much compared to what we usually see or hear, not just from the Yankees, but from any front office member. What were your thoughts, and what was the part where you were like, whoa?
Well, first of all, that was an availability of all the American League general managers. So they were all in that same area at that time, talking to various media members. And I didn't stay with Cashman for the whole hour. I circled back like 3 times. What was amazing to me about it, guys, is that it just kept going. And Scott, I heard what you said about maybe being a little too much, but Brian Cashman felt that he's been under fire, and he has. And this was his first time talking to the media in quite some time. And clearly he wanted to defend himself. He wanted to get his own thoughts out there. The popular word, of course, these days is narrative. He challenged some of the narratives that are out there, particularly the ones about the Yankees being so reliant on analytics. And he wanted to establish his own narratives. Now, people will have different opinions of this. A Yankee fan who is frustrated is not going to be any less frustrated after hearing their owner yesterday and then Brian Cashman. But at the same time, you do like the passion. You do want to see the passion. The thing that I still wonder about is, hey, where are the answers here? Now, you want to say it's not analytics, guys. We're fine. We got good baseball. Okay, you were 82-80 last year. How are you going to fix it? And I don't expect any team ever to lay out their plans for how to fix it, but I do expect them in a situation like the Yankees to say something along the lines of, hey, we know we've made some mistakes, which Cashman acknowledged, and we have to do some things better, which he also said, but we have to be in a better place. That's the bottom line here. They've got to fix the team. All the talk, all the noise goes away when you're winning or when your team is good. Now, there's always going to be questions. Okay, we get that. But the Yankees' performance last year raised a lot of questions. Their decision-making over the last, 3, 4, 5 years has raised a lot of questions. And that's the issue. And Brian Cashman can talk all he wants. We can write all we want. Until they get their act together, that's what we're going to be talking about.
And we spent a lot of time on this just now, so we've got a lot else to cover with you. But I just would like to say, since you're part of the FT fam, foul territory was indirectly referenced yesterday because we are just reporting what we hear. And there was a Yankees minor leaguer in Ben Ruda who wanted to make his voice heard at one point and felt like he was representing a large group of minor leaguers and coaches within the org, which he was, especially when we talked to him behind the scenes about the names that he dropped to me that were involved in telling him this stuff. And Cash called him out. I don't know if you saw that, but calling him bitter boy and all of that. So they're watching, Ken. Just letting you know. They're paying attention.
That's fine. I assume they're paying attention at all times.
Exactly. Kratz?
Do you know who else is paying attention? Ken, you have to subside the fire that is running through Milwaukee right now. This whole the story about like where does this end? Who made the right decision was fascinating to me.
Well, Erik, this was one of those things, the council decision that we'll be talking about for years. How it went down, who made the right calls, Brewers, Mets, Cubs, just how it all evolves. And I don't know the answers to that, obviously. And it just, to me, is still so shocking what happened. That not only did he leave the Brewers, that wasn't so shocking. That we've been talking about for months. Brewers fans were telling me I was full of it for months. No, this was going to happen. He was going to look for the most money. If the Brewers gave it to him, great, he'd stay in Milwaukee. But that is what he wanted to do. He talked yesterday to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel about wanting a new challenge as well. that's probably true. The Brewers are in a kind of a tough place right now. But the shocking part of this, to me, to everyone in the industry, is that he left for their division rival, for the bigger city to the south. All of these things came into play, and it's going to be difficult for him going back to Milwaukee as a manager of the Cubs. We know that. He's almost a pariah. He is a pariah in his adopted hometown. Actually, it is his hometown. It's from the Milwaukee area. So that part of it to me is really the stunner here. But as I wrote, Eric, Craig Counsell's intentions were clear. He wanted to raise the bar for managers' salaries, which is a worthy goal because managers have been underpaid for too long now. And teams kind of undervalue that role. Not kind of, they do undervalue that role. So I understand what he was doing. I just was shocked that it ended up the way it did.
I can't wait to see how this plays out over time and who was right, the Cubs, the Brewers, the Mets, I mean, whoever it is. But there's still some openings out there. And Buck Showalter, Ron Washington, and Anaheim are interesting names. Who's going to get the Milwaukee job is interesting to me. But then there's one still that we've kind of talked about on the West Coast, the Padres. What are they going to do out there? So of the openings that are left, Ken, what do you foresee happening in those spots?
Okay. And I don't know these for a fact, obviously. I'm just kind of going on informed analysis and reporting of what I know. Buck Showalter seems to me to be the favorite in Anaheim. That's for one. Chandler Rome, the Athletic Astros reporter, wrote today that if Joe Espada is not the front runner in Houston, he certainly is a guy that the general manager, Dana Brown, has a lot of respect for and is speaking highly of. So that call will go to the owner, Jim Crane, just as the call on Showalter or whoever the Angels manager, that will go to Artie Moreno. The owners in both those situations will have significant input, if not make the outright decisions themselves. San Diego seems to be Ryan Flaherty, who's been their bench coach and around for a few years, or Mike Schilt, the former Cardinals manager who was on their staff last year. They're also interviewing some others, Benji Gill, Phil Nevin. They're hard to predict, obviously. AJ Preller has gone through a lot of managers, but it would seem to me Flaherty is a strong candidate there. And then Milwaukee, hard to say. I listed a bunch of names yesterday of guys who they are considering. Don Mattingly was one. Joe Espada was another. Clayton McCullough, the Dodgers' first base coach. Even Ricky Weeks, their former second baseman. So they have a number of guys they're looking at. The Astros co-hitting coach Troy Snitker. They were taken aback by this. Obviously, you have to be ready for Counsell to leave. They knew that was a possibility. But now they've got to act on his replacement, and it's not going to be easy.
Could it be that we could see a dark horse candidate, somebody that's not out there, considering that Matt Arnold has kind of been in the org and they have, somebody, because all this Counsell stuff was really backdoor dealing, not backdoor dealing, that sounds nefarious, but like it's more like, could we see something in the lines of what happened with Counsell happen with the Brewers or happen with any of these other teams?
If you're asking, Eric, if I think they'll go hire an existing manager from somewhere else, I don't believe that's going to happen. One guy I failed to mention who is in the mix there is their bench coach, Pat Murphy, who has been Counsell's longtime guy. He was his coach at Notre Dame. They've been associated forever. I could easily see Pat Murphy going to Chicago to be Counsell's bench coach there. I don't see them doing anything that shocking. I mean, man, something like what just happened comes around every once or 10 years, and the Cubs seem to be involved each time. When Madden was hired and Rick Renteria was dumped so they could get him, that was 2014. Really, we haven't had a situation like that since. Bob Melvin going to San Francisco was different. It was not the same as this. So I don't see any great surprises along the lines of what we just saw happening. That said, there's a non-0% chance of something crazy happening. There always is.
Hey, Ken, is Shohei Ohtani all the talk at the GM meetings? Like, is that the number one topic when you run into all of the people that you see there, they bring up?
No. He is obviously a huge topic of discussion. Everyone is wondering where he's going to end up. That's been going on for months in baseball. But if I'm talking to the Kansas City Royals GM or the Chicago White Sox GM or the Tampa Bay Rays GM,
Hey!
They're
Why
not
interrupt?
worried about Shohei Ohtani because they're not going to be in the mix for Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani is in the mix for what? I don't know, 6, 7, 8 teams maybe. So a lot of the teams here are conducting their own business and trying to figure out what they're going to do, and they have no intention of being in on Shohei. They're not going to do that. So it's the talk of the meetings among media, certainly, but I don't know if I would say it's like dominating the discussion. That would be inaccurate.
So wait, so I found it interesting, Ken. We were just talking about Craig Counsell and the Cubs and their $8 million a year for. Wouldn't they seem to be like a team? I know it's been mentioned, and I've read it now the last 24 hours. They might be the team to beat for Shohei because. But then on one hand, you also have people coming out and say, well, because they hired Craig Counsell, they're not going to go for it. But then you have the other side that's like, oh, they're throwing everything at Shohei and huge free agents to make the team better. So which way are the Cubs going to go? Because I think it's fascinating what the Ricketts do with their money.
I don't see them being one of the finalists for Shohei. They'll be in, they'll toss their hat in, but I just don't see that happening. They are definitely in an interesting position now that Counsell is aboard. You hired Counsell and fired David Ross because you wanted better results now. Not in 2025 and 26, now. Now, obviously, it's a long-term move, 5 years, and they're looking at the broader picture as well, but they want to win. So I expect them to be active, but I don't know if I see them in the Shohei Ohtani market. And guys, what needs to be repeated here, we'll see a lot of talk in the next few months, this team emerging, that team emerging. No one knows what this guy wants. No one knows his geographic preference. No one knows his competitive preference. No one really has any idea which way he is leaning. So it's all speculation. You could definitely talk about the Dodgers because they've been planning for this moment. You could talk about the Giants, who just hired Bob Melvin, who has great experience with Japanese players and who want a star. The Texas Rangers have to be considered a legitimate contender because they spent $800 million in free agency the past 2 offseasons, and they've only been emboldened, in my opinion, by their World Series title. Those 3 teams, yeah, I can see the Yankees and Mets and Red Sox dipping their toes in, and maybe even more. But beyond that, I'm not so sure I can identify any clubs, maybe even Seattle, that would be really serious about this.
All right, Ken, last thing before your arms get tired because you keep switching
No, I have
arms.
one. I have
Oh,
one.
you do? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Scott has one because.
He's fine. Leave him alone. It's a good workout. I've done it many times.
Have you ever seen a guy?
Switch arms.
Okay, perfect. No, that's not what I was going to say. Have you ever seen a guy more unceremoniously let go than David Ross? Who now listen, I know they did this with Renteria for Madden. Okay, but David Ross and Rick Renteria, David Ross was like a folk hero for the Cubs, right? He just got let go, and there was like a 2-sentence thing they put out there, like, we've relieved David Ross of his duties. Thank you, David. And that was it. And then they bring in Craig Counsell. Like, have you ever seen anything in your career where it's been this unceremoniously for somebody that the organization allegedly valued so high?
I don't recall ever seeing anything like that. No, AJ. And certainly this was an unusual circumstance. And as I wrote it today, what the Cubs saw was a possibility, an opportunity to get someone that otherwise would not have been available in normal circumstances, that they maybe only could have gotten this one time. And because of that, and because of what Counsell has accomplished, they felt, okay, we like David Ross, but we love Craig Counsell. We think Craig Counsell will be a better manager. Let's do it. They knew full well how it would look. We all cannot look at this and say, hey, this was cool, man. This is great. No, it stinks. It's not cool. And for David Ross, it's humiliating, it's embarrassing, and probably undeserved. Is he as good a manager as Craig Counsell? No, I would not say that he is. But you don't want to see people treated like that. That said, it's baseball. It's business. This is how America works. I guess the rest of the world works like this too. We've all, well, maybe not all of us, but many of us have lost jobs, and it's never pretty. It never is fair. And things go forward from there. For David Ross, as talented as he is in so many ways, I expect he'll be fine. Maybe he'll even come out of this stronger. But obviously right now, I'm sure he's hurting, and rightfully hurting.
I asked Sahada Sharma yesterday if this means if this is going to break off, if this is going to open up the Pandora's box of spending for the Cubs. And my opinion is they wanted a value. They wanted to overpay for a manager or pay the top dollar for a manager because they want to continue to nickel and dime. Which way do you see it going for the Cubs?
It's a good question, Eric. I don't know. And you're paying top dollar for a manager, but it's still only $8 million a year. That's setup man money. So I don't think that this signals that's where they're going to spend their money and nowhere else. But I don't know that they're going to get that heavily involved in free agency, especially the starting pitching market, because they know, like other teams know, that market can be perilous. And it's not something that they really dallied in much in the past. They did Stroman, but it was a short-term deal with an opt-out, low risk. So I do expect them to spend. They have to. They have an opportunity here. The Brewers seemingly are going backwards. The Cardinals are in a tough position because they need 2, possibly 3 starting pitchers. The rest of the division is getting better, but maybe except for the Reds, not quite there yet. So I do expect them to spend, but I don't expect them to spend crazily just because they got Counsell. And I don't expect them not to spend because they got Counsell either and they're paying him. They have the money to do 2 things at once.
Hey, Ken, can you take us behind the curtain for a moment on how the offseason goes down with teams talking to representation of players? This came up the other day and some fans were asking about it because someone threw out there that there was, I think the example used was, hey, the Red Sox are talking to Jordan Montgomery's rep. And I said, because I follow what you've done, obviously, very closely, tweet by tweet for years, that every team, and by the way, his rep is Scott Boras, every team is talking to Scott Boras. He even said it the other day on a show, on Joel Sherman and John Heyman's show. He said, I talk to every team about once a week, a rep from each team. So my thing is, when some of that stuff gets put out there, I just want to temper fans' expectations because now we can say whatever we want on a show like this. Do you agree? And also, like, is that how it works where if there's a big agency and they're repping a ton of players, are they not talking to everyone technically? And I could technically tweet every week, hey, the rep for Jordan Montgomery is talking to the Cubs. He's talking to the White Sox. He's talking to the A's. Like, Scott Boras can talk to every team. What does that mean?
Scott, I'm with you on this. And if you do follow me on Twitter or X, you hardly ever see a tweet like that from me. Once in a while, yes, because there might be something surprising, or I might see that a meeting has taken place and it is particularly newsworthy in a way that these other meetings that you just described are not. These other meetings are routine. As you said, everyone is talking to everyone. That means clubs are talking to agents. Clubs are also talking to other clubs. Everyone is surveying the landscape, especially at this time of year when it's early in the offseason. So I don't put much stock in that kind of stuff. Now, when we get down to, let's say, the nitty-gritty of a trade, when 2 teams are really engaged with each other, or in a free agent circumstance, when a team and an agent player are really engaged with each other, that's different. And if I'll say, or if I tweet, a team is in serious discussions with another team or an agent, that's different. That's advanced. The stuff now, the contact that is made, that's not advanced. That's routine. That's all part of this. And most cases, I do not consider it newsworthy.
That's why you're the best in the business, Ken.
I don't know about that, but that's just my view of it.
You're in second place, Ken. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, AJ.
Who's in first?
Everyone else is tied for first, Ken.
Wow, it's so sweet.
Everyone else switching their hands on the phone, standing in front of the fountains in a fancy hotel.
That's right.
AJ needs new material.
Everyone else is not doing that.
That's
a tired act.
That's a good AJ impersonation. That's your best AJ impersonation for sure.
It was good.
I try my best, Eric.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Ken, thanks for joining us. We enjoy the beautiful background behind you, and we'll catch you again on Friday. And enjoy the rest of the meetings out there.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks.
Try not to get sunburned, Ken, at the pool.
Stop it. Fair territory. This week's topics on your screen right now. If you're listening to the pod at the moment, I'll read a few of them. Teams to watch this offseason, so that's relevant for almost any baseball fan. Answers your questions in Grill and Ken. Talks about the umpire ratings and how it's kind of weird how they pick the umps for the World Series. The managerial carousel, which obviously we're covering right now. I thought that was well said, though, by Ken on how some reporters will just be like, this team's talking to this rep. Like, go back and see how many times that actually means that the player signed with that team, especially when we're doing this on November 8th.
Oh.
It's literally just putting it out there. And the only problem I have, I don't care, like, put it out there. The only problem I have actually is when we do have fans that interact with our show that are like, oh, Scott, it looks like Montgomery's going to sign with the Red Sox. Like, that's what they think. It's giving false hope. And like Ken said, Kratz, if there's real talks and like an offer or something serious going on, okay, that's worth talking about. Just saying like this team called Scott Boras today, that I think is kind of fucking with a fan base.
Just follow. You want to follow two things. Follow Ken, follow Foul Territory. We're not going to waste our time with Schmeck. Ken is definitely not going to waste his time unless he has substantial sources that confirm what is going on. Talking with somebody, no.
Thank you. I agree. Schmeck, Foul Territory, and Ken Rosenthal. It's all you need. Hey, let's get to the White Sox for a sec.
Do we have to?
No.
Yes! This is my favorite part of the show. Every single day, our live viewers go up by the ones.
It is my favorite part.
Which part?
When
To watch
As
you
the-
squirm.
like sands through the hourglass, so go our days of our White Sox. I mean, it's something every day. Where are we starting with this? Just so I know where to.
we'll do That's What He Said. And
Okay.
I think usually what I like to do is just kind of lay out what was put out there
Mm-hmm.
and then get reactions from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So let's first go to new GM Chris Getz
Deep breath.
on Tony La Russa. He said TLR is, quote, in an advisory position. That type of experience is invaluable, not only in the team building aspect, with so many little pieces that go into a major league club, mentoring minor league coaches, players, quote, he's an asset. You want to stop there or should we go to the next part?
Well, okay. I don't know. Am I allowed to tell the story about Tony La Russa when didn't we send him something and he
Would you send?
didn't
We sent him
I
something?
thought Foul Territory sent him something and he sent something back about like
Sure.
tell AJ he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh yeah. No, we didn't send him anything like a physical gift. I think we
He
got
looked nice
a little
in
bit
the
of
shirt.
communication.
Oh, he sent him a happy birthday message.
Oh yeah, which is really nice. I
Which is
like that
nice.
we do
I
that.
actually like Tony.
It's a
Enjoy
family
talking to him.
company.
But then he said, tell AJ doesn't know what he's talking about because he had nothing to do with Getz getting hired. Well, okay. But he definitely has something going on in the organization. If Chris Getz has to answer questions about, yeah, Tony's an asset and Tony's doing this and Tony's doing that. If he didn't have anything to do with anything, he wouldn't be sitting in for whatever. He's sitting in meetings. He's still kind of running meetings and he's still making decisions. Now, I could be wrong, but I've heard this from multiple people.
Didn't Getz just say it too?
Yeah, but I could be wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think you're pretty plugged in. You want to move on to the next part?
It keeps getting better. Like saying
This part's
through the
way better.
hourglass.
Okay. So Chris Getz out at the GM meetings. Also, we're not knocking the individual. We're literally
No.
just saying what the quotes are. I'm reading quotes today, especially because there were press conferences all over the place. And yes, for the group that's asking about Boras, we'll cover that tomorrow because Scott Boras' press conference is usually loaded with fun too.
Should we try to get Boras on again?
We can easily do that if we want. All right. So, quote from Chris Getz: "We have a talented group. There is no question. I don't like our team,
That seems like that contradicts itself.
Hold
but let's
on.
Continue.
and we have to make some adjustments to improve in 2024." Later said that they have, quote, no untouchables trade-wise as he targets the White Sox identity. And then I think there's a good follow-up here from Pedro Grifol that's worth mentioning as well.
Griffle.
Here we go. Griffel. On a Zoom with Chicago media, and this is from Ryan McGuffey. On a Zoom with Chicago media, White Sox manager Pedro Grifol said that he agreed with Chris Getz's statement that he didn't like the team either. He referenced World Series winners talking about loving all 26 guys. Quote, "We didn't have that." And then, do you see that comment? Is that Ozzy or Ozzy's
That's the
people?
Guillen family.
That's the Guillen family. So they replied and said, when did he start disliking them? He said he loved this team all last year. Does he realize interviews are recorded with laughing, crying emoji? So he hates them now? Got it. And they watch every game and listen
Oh.
to everything. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Who are you?
Are you role playing?
Role playing?
Yes. I'm every
go ahead.
GM that's doing interviews at the GM meetings. Is it so sunny out there that they need to not see their faces, or are their eyes going like this?
Kratz, you're going to learn about this next week at our poker tournament because half the dudes there also wear sunglasses inside. They do not want to show their true emotions or feelings. They just want to put the quotes out there. And when we read them like that, some of them spoke great. That's why we're not going over 28 other press conferences, but I'm confused on that one from a manager. And my biggest thing is, let's get the player perspective here. Kratz, let's start with you. If you just played for a skipper, I want to start with you because I want to just do the hypothetical and let AJ build up for a
role
second.
playing.
Okay. If you play for a coach that says, I love my team, everything's amazing, blah, 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 for the whole season. And then as soon as a new dude is hired, he's like, yeah, I don't like that team. What do players say when they see that quote?
F-A-K-E, you fake. You fake. I don't want it. I don't want you around no more. This man's time in Chicago is dwindling. If he's going to all of a sudden, you were saying before, like, we love you, we all love you, and then all of a sudden, actually, I didn't like this team either. Thanks, Chris. You're going to be here for a few years, right? I want to be here too.
That was beautiful. And that was concise.
Yes, that was good. That was good.
Landed the plane in seconds.
If we go back to the Chris Getz quote, we have a lot of talent, we have a great team, but I don't like them. Wait, what? Okay, what? And then if you continue to watch it, the whole, because I obviously being a White Sox fan, I watched a lot of this. And
Homer.
And he said, Homer, that's fine. Homer, clearly a Homer. He said, he also said, we're looking for certain types of players that we haven't had here in years. Wasn't he head of minor leagues? Wasn't he in charge of developing players to a certain type of player? So we're going to go out. Now, the other thing that I found interesting about this was the White Sox keep saying we're going to contend. When Chris Getz first got the job, he said we're going to contend in 2024. Okay, but then he said we're not going to, and no one's untouchable. We're very talented, but I hate my team. So if you're going to contend with a team you hate, doesn't that mean you have to change everybody? Usually teams that change the whole roster over in one day or 1 year off season, they usually don't contend very quickly. So it's just a lot of contradictions. Now, again, I want the White Sox to be good. I want Chris Getz to succeed. I want to make that very clear, right? I'm just going off with the quotes here. And as a White Sox fan, and from White Sox fans that I have spoken to, they are like, what the fuck? Because, again, they have talented pieces. Dylan Cease, Luis Robert, who should have won a Gold Glove. We didn't even get into that. Sorry, Kevin Kiermaier, but Luis Robert should have won. They have some other pieces here and there that are okay. They have Colson Montgomery who's coming, who won MVP of the AFL All-Star Game, things like that. But are you trying to compete? And if you are, you're going to have to spend money. And we all know Jerry's not spending the money to compete to that level.
Not $100 million players.
He has never done it. $75 million is the highest, right? And then, or are you trying to rebuild? Because just come out and say you're going to rebuild. I know they just went through it. I know. But also, don't lie to the fans. Say, hey, we're going to have to rebuild. We're going to have to start over. And guess what? Like you just talked about, Kratzy, that gets Chris Getz 5 years. Like, rebuild. I need my players here. That's 5 more years to do it. So just be honest. Listen, we're on Cashman. Cashman was passionate, and Cashman was kind of honest about what he said, how he felt.
Yes.
Now, how he said it might not have been the right way, but he was honest about, this is how I feel. To me, this is like trying to play both sides of it so the media can't get mad at me and the fans can't get mad at me. I'm gonna flip-flop. Oh, well, I really like our team. We're talented, but I hate them.
In the same sentence.
In the same sentence. Like, wait, what? And then the Guillen comment was the funniest to me because, listen, the Guillen boys and Ozzy does the post. And I'll give Ozzy credit. He shows up every day. Now, listen, one day we'll have a whole Days of Our White Sox soap opera thing. And some of the stuff I heard about what went on last year. And Kratz, you'll be like, there's no way this stuff happened. And it all happened. Okay? But, like Ozzy, the Guillen boys are like, wait, Pedro, you love this team. Every press conference you had, and you're going to compete, and you're going to hold them accountable. And then, like Kratz said, the new GM comes in, he says he hates them. And Pedro's like, nope, I hate them too, guys. I hated them. Didn't want any of them here. Nope, let's get rid of them all. Wait, what? Again, it's like the same thing. I've never heard of such a thing. At least Ozzy would come out and be like, "I hate you guys." We're like, "Yeah, we know. We're
Yeah,
fine
but
with that."
that's middle school shit where it's like Steve said that we should all not like this person now, even though everyone was like, we love him 2 seconds ago, right? And then everyone's like, yeah, we don't like this person
Mean Girls.
either.
Mean Girl. Like
Mean Girls.
This is Mean Girls. Real
Do you
life Mean
remember?
Girls.
Do you remember the commercial? And I don't remember what the commercial was. It was the guy. He was trying to get on this like boat party, and he's like, he goes, yeah, Sergio told us. He goes, you know Sergio? He goes, yeah, you know the tall, short, thin, skinny, fat, brown-haired, light-haired, blonde-haired guy. That's exactly what they just did right there. They were just like, come on, you know Sergio? Come join us. You're a White Sox.
I do remember that.
Come
Here's the
join
thing:
us.
if you go on the White Sox, like, because obviously on my Twitter X, whatever X, it's a lot of White Sox feed because obviously White Sox here and there. But they're like, "Oh man, Chris Getz, yeah, we're on the same page. I hate this team." But then I'm like, did they read the whole quote or they only saw that little snippet? Because the beginning said, it's like, okay, I don't know. Listen, I want him to do well, and I want Chris Getz to do well. It just is like, be honest and say we're going to rebuild. Because honestly, I know you're in the AL Central, but guess what, Scott? They're probably not going to compete next year. Minnesota, even though they're probably going to drop payroll, is going to be better.
They might dude, it's
Detroit
not hard
should
to
be
compete
better.
in that division.
Cleveland's not going to be as bad as they were.
They can compete in the Central if they wanted to. It is the easiest by
But
far.
they have to
easiest.
do what?
The Twins are cutting payroll.
They have to do what?
Spend.
And what do the White Sox not do?
Spend.
Okay, thank you.
They had a high payroll this year. I feel like this whole, I feel like the whole White Sox thing. I don't use emojis, but I'm a huge meme and GIF fan, and I feel like it's just like, you're watching like the GIF where like the kid's like smiling and there's a fire behind them. Like I feel like that's the White Sox. I feel like I just got to like sit here and eat popcorn. That GIF, like this is. Thank you, AJ. Thank you for your World Series. Female World Series ring that you have given us for the excitement this is.
Speaking of, can I just ask this question, Kratz? And you've been in a bunch of organizations.
Then we got our guest right.
I know. Sorry, Benny. Hold on 1 second because I have to ask this question.
He's listening.
He's a Rockies prospect. He doesn't care about the White Sox. Once he gets traded there, then he'll really care. But Kratz, you're in a lot of organizations. Okay, the White Sox have had one team that has been able to do anything since 1918. So in 105 years, 106, 2024, right? That has won the World Series, made it to the playoffs, done the deal, right? There's not one person in the organization anywhere that was on a part of that team. You would think there'd be a coach, a minor league coach. There's not one dude that is a part of the organization. And that was the only team that actually did it. I'm assuming other organizations lean back on their postseason successes and have some of those guys around in some sort of a role. But the White Sox don't have one dude that is a part of the 2005 team in their organization.
So to
any role that I know of. Who?
No, every organization I've been in that has a world championship, let alone not even a world championship. If you don't have a world championship and you've made it to the World Series, the Brewers, those guys come around and they give. It's not everybody. I think there's been some organizations that have won few titles and they just bleed those guys to death. They're just putting them in roles that they shouldn't be in just to be in the organization. But the good ones bring back the guys who just developed they talk about winning. Whether or not you think they're arrogant or not, whatever it is, they develop players to win. So I think that is a really important thing.
And by the way, I found the ad, so I'll send that to you later. I found the commercial.
It's one of my favorites.
Sergio! And then he parties with all. It's incredible. So
you know Sergio? Come join us.
It's an alcohol company. They have to sponsor us, or I'm not saying their name. No, I'm kidding. I don't care. It's Smirnoff. All right. Let's bring on Benny Montgomery, Colorado Rockies prospect, joining us on FT Live. Oh, you got us in a good mood today. How you doing, Benny? How's life in Arizona? It's definitely nicer than the background you've got right now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. A lot better. It's certainly a lot warmer here than it is at home. Woke up with a little bit of a cold this morning, so I'm a little nasally. That's why don't judge me too much. But just here at the facility, getting a physical done, then going to enjoy a little off day until the last regular season game tomorrow.
Yeah,
Benny,
don't
before
wor-
we get too deep. Oh, sorry, Kratz, my bad. 'Cause
Oh,
I know
no,
he's
no,
going
I
to
was
say.
just gonna say,
No,
don't worry
hold
about-
on. No, he's going to go on from Pennsylvania. So now go ahead, Kratz. Because
No,
I know that's where he was
that's
going to
always
go.
later. That's always later.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's way later. But since
Yeah.
you brought it up, don't worry about nasally. I mean, I got nasally for days. Look at this nose. I look like JP Ricciardi out here. Huge schnoz. What is it like to be from Pennsylvania?
Being from PA, I love PA. That's my home. That's where I grew up. I know a lot of people from Pennsylvania aren't as fond of it, I guess, as I am. I love the seasons. It's fall right now. Looking forward to getting home and seeing the fall in PA. But it's competitive baseball up there. My senior year of high school, everybody wanted to win. Good athletes, good weather, except in the wintertime. It's a cool place. Very peaceful.
Yes, it is. Because I live in PA. I'm about an hour and 45 minutes from you. I'm in.
Where are you?
I'm north of Philly, like Lansdale
Okay.
area.
Okay.
You're out in
Gotcha.
like Lancaster, Harrisburg, right?
Harrisburg, in between Harrisburg and York on 83.
Perfect. All right. So let's delve into the biggest thing for me is looking at what you've done in your career, reading an article about how like it was a tough transition for you. You know, there's a whole high school to the pros, which I have utmost respect for anybody. AJ went from high school to the pros to minor league baseball. I couldn't have done it. I went as a senior in college and I could barely do it. But tell me about how you cut down. Tell me if I'm wrong. 18% on your strikeout rate. You went down. How is that even possible in this day and age?
Right. That's something that I'm very proud of because this offseason, my hitting coaches in Pennsylvania and Alabama, we knew and we identified along with people in the Rockies organization, we identified that my chase rate was too high post 2022 season in a single A ball in Fresno. So I went into the off season.
No, connection's not incredible.
Mm-mm. And he's being held in a bunker.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I hope he's not being held hostage. And
I brought that up in the beginning. I said, I know that he's in a place that looks far better than his current backdrop, right?
oh, Arizona
Mhm.
is like you saw Ken's
Yeah,
video.
exactly.
It was just straight blue.
It is beautiful out there.
It was it looked like a nice day for Ken.
Yes.
Happy for him.
What, getting some sunshine?
Happy he's having a nice day.
Yeah, me too. We'll work on getting Benny back in just a sec. Should we hop to? There was one other thing I wanted to cover today. Should we do it now?
A
Or
true
should we
story
try and
about
get
the
him
PA stuff. Like the whole, as much as we joke about it and everything, this is stuff that goes on in bus rides and like seasons.
Clubhouse.
Like
Still, even in the big leagues, people talk trash about where they're from.
like you fly. Let's say you fly into Georgia and you're playing for the White Sox. You fly into Georgia and it's raining. Whoever's from Georgia, you just hear. I mean, even some of the Latino guys in the background be like, "Hey, McCann, nice estate." Like you're always gonna bust balls about whoever state somebody's from.
I like that.
Always. Speaking of Harrisburg, I played in Harrisburg in AA. Saw one I didn't see, but one Vladimir Guerrero hit a home run on a intentional walk, which was unbelievable.
You were at that game?
I was not at that game, but it was like the New Britain Rockets that gave it up, and I knew the guy who gave it up. I know the whole deal.
The whole story?
The whole story.
Where they were trying to
throw an intentional walk, and he right center over the
That
scoreboard
is
in Harrisburg. And
freaking
two,
awesome.
I saw the catcher go to the mound. Chad Moeller went to the mound. Brian Runge was the home plate umpire. There was a runner on third. The runner ran home, and Brian Runge said he didn't call timeout. The guy stole home because the catcher went out. That also happened.
I like that too. But the Vladdy one is insane.
Vladdy one's true story. Troy Carrasco.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
That is delicious.
He is a free
background.
man. Much better, Benny. You got us good, dude?
Can you hear me?
Oh
Yeah, we got you. We got you, Benny. I don't know where we were.
I
we
went
were
outside.
talking about.
I was inside trying to connect to a Wi-Fi, but I think this should be better now.
It looked
Much
like
better,
you were in the
much
closet
better.
trying to hide from like your roommates or something. I don't know.
I was in the corner of a conference room, so
This is
so
much
trying
better.
to-
Well, I
Good.
have a question for you. Getting back to actually Pennsylvania talk for a moment. Who was your favorite player growing up?
Chase Utley. Without
Okay,
a doubt.
is there a story related to a family member with Chase Utley? Because I saw a headline, but I wasn't subscribed to that particular publication. I pay for like 50 freaking subscriptions for reading shit online, and I can't subscribe to every single city's individual newspaper. So I'm sorry, not even gonna call it the newspaper, but the title was very enticing, and I was like, I'll just ask Benny himself. So is there a story to it?
Yeah, I feel that paying for subscription stuff seems like everything you need to do now. You have to pay for it online, especially. But
We're free, by the way. But yes,
Chase Utley was my favorite player growing up. I grew up in mid-state Pennsylvania in two spots in Bloomsburg mostly when I was a big Phillies fan. And getting to watch that 2008 World Series, the 2009 World Series appearance, it was one of those things that definitely sparked a interest in baseball. And like I said, Chase Utley was my favorite player. I wore 26 growing up, and I have two twin little brothers, and I was 7, I think. Yeah, I was 7 years old when they were born, 2 boys. And they were born in 2010, so that would have been pretty close to peak Phillies time. And I loved Chase Utley, and as a little kid at that time, I was like, Mom and Dad, we should name one of them Chase. And my mom really liked the name Jace with a J. And she eventually just kind of said, well, that's close enough to Jace. We'll name him Chase. So I don't know if that was my decision or if they kind of just fell along with it because they liked the name. But yes, I named my little brother Chase, or at least convinced my parents to.
that is awesome. Because have you ever heard of someone like a kid being able to talk their parents into a name?
No. Mm-mm. I've heard of.
They were twins, so I guess it were
Is
two.
it would have been really cool if it was like Chase and Jace.
Well, also, like, if you're 7, usually they would be like, Mom, can we name him Ketchup? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, no, son. But you gave him like a legit name.
Chase and Jimmy.
I think it was
Yeah.
fair. That's cool. So what does Chase say now? Does he thank you? Does he like the name?
Chase doesn't play baseball anymore, so that one didn't work out with the baseball and the name. But my
But
other
still,
little
it's a
brother,
fine
Bodie,
name.
he plays. It's still a good name, but he runs cross country. He's super fast, so he's doing just fine.
Chase.
I thought you were going to say he grew up a Pirates fan, because that's Central Pennsylvania. You can go next door and there's Pirate fans, and then you go to the next door down and it's Philly fans.
Or you go a little farther south and it's Orioles fans. You actually get all three.
It's a weird area.
Yeah. Kind of in the middle of everything, in a way.
Hey, your last name's Montgomery, and Colson's out there too. Have you guys spoken and done the whole, hey, are we related?
Oh, yeah. We've been doing that far longer than here. I remember in area code in high school, we were doing that, messing with each other. We were playing a game here at Salt River against Glendale, which is Colson's team. And I remember these 2 girls come over and they're like yelling my name, Montgomery. And I kind of peek over, I don't recognize them. I'm like, that's weird, whatever. And I remember they said some high school. And I was like, that's not my high school. And I look over and I go, Rog Montgomery, Colson's over there. And I point over to the other side. And I was like, are you kidding? I can't. I wonder how many times that happens to him too. I've gotten a couple baseball cards that were Colson's, people asking to sign. So we get mixed up plenty, at least from my side.
I like that. I mean, yeah, you two are similar age, big prospects in the sport. Hopefully that stays with you your whole career, and you're both in the bigs for a long time, and people yell Montgomery at both of you, you know?
Yeah, he's a super good dude. I wish him the best, and he's certainly doing just fine.
Yeah, have you played enough with or against him? Do you have a scouting report for us? I mean, he's getting some Corey Seager comps from people, which is a pretty popular name to be comped to right now.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, he's I'm trying to think. I've never played with him. I'm trying to think if I did at East Coast Pro. I don't remember if I did or not. I don't think I've ever played with him. Played against him plenty of times. As far as the scouting report goes, they don't throw stuff to hit. I mean, that's probably what I would say he's made our. I remember I robbed him pretty good at area code, laying out on a line drive he hit. So I do remember that. But he's a super good player. Every time he's up, something good's going to happen, or at least he's going to make it tough on the other team. I have a lot of respect for him.
How is the fall league going? How is it going for you? Obviously, statistically, awesome. You're killing it. Shocker. You just keep killing every league you're in. But how's it going as far as you're halfway through your off season here. Like, you don't have that time at home. You said you love going home. Like, are you accomplishing the things that you wanted to accomplish here with, what'd you say, one more game left?
Yeah, everything you said is true. Of course, we're diving pretty deep into November here in the off season, which is normally time I've had in the past to work out, get bigger, get stronger, which I'll miss a little bit of, but I've gained so much as a hitter being here that it totally makes it beyond worth it. I've gotten my timing better, made some adjustments at the plate to really be on time, see the ball better, get the ball in the air a little bit more. So it's been a incredibly beneficial fall league this far. I guess we don't have too much time left. I'll have to take a little bit of time off when I get home and then get back into lifting and off-season workouts. But it's been certainly, from a hitting standpoint, it's been everything I needed it to be and more.
Can you take us behind the scenes on the clip that we just showed? You're hanging out with some kids, teaching them, hey, this is how you hit off a tee, but also this is how you pimp it a little bit, kids.
Yeah, that's a funny video. So I volunteered at the play ball event, and it was like all the kids had these plastic bats with wiffle balls on tees. And one of the fall league workers comes up to me and goes, Benny, can you teach the kids how to do a bat flip? Mind you, guess how many times I've bat flipped in my life? Like once. I don't really do it. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, guys, not the best guy to demonstrate a bat flip to the little kids, but we'll do our best. That video got reposted on Twitter, and one of my teammates reposted it saying, like, Benny is the least likely person in all of professional baseball to do this. But, hey, maybe someday. And it was cool. I did my best, and I thought it looked pretty cool. But normally when I'm playing, it doesn't matter how far I hit it. I'm 100% out of the box before I even register a home run. So.
Wow.
Let the kids play and have fun, dude. Bat flip, who cares? Especially in the fall league. It's mundane. Like, you hit a homer in the fall league, toss that shit up to the sky.
I'm not against bat flips at all. I literally swing and I run, and then I remember, oh shoot, that's gonna go. That's kinda how I am.
Which is not a bad mentality, because there are, a few big leaguers that kind of do it the other way around, including actually, who's one of like the prime dudes who bat flips before the ball leaves the yard, and sometimes it doesn't. Adolis Garcia.
Yeah. All he did was win a World Series, so bat flip your ass off.
And an ALCS MVP. But yes, it does occur.
Plus, they're not going to throw at you in the fall league, so who cares?
Are they going to throw at you, period?
No,
if you
exactly,
bat flip
but
anymore?
definitely not in the fall league.
I know one dude that did. Dude that's up with the Red Sox. What is his name? Sinker ball, right-handed pitcher. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Benny doesn't care.
No.
I don't know about getting thrown in the fall league. If you make somebody mad enough, it can always happen.
Yeah.
Who have you played with up there? Who's on your team right now that's like a big prospect that we should know about?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure, you guys interviewed him a week or two ago. Sterling, my teammate and roommate.
Yep.
He's
Go Gators.
Super good. Oh, yeah. He went to Florida boy. But he's a
I bet he bat
player.
flips. I bet he bat flips.
He's not a huge bat flip guy either, but he will more than I will. So
wasn't Sterling the Luis Arise fan?
Was he?
Is Sterling the big contact guy?
No. Sterling was the guy we taught Gator football and you got all mad about.
Sterling Thompson.
Oh, it's Triantos. I wouldn't get mad about Gator football. I live down here.
That's
Benny,
funny.
Benny, do you have connections with any of the current Rockies big leaguers? So I always think Colorado's a unique situation. Obviously, we can talk about the environment and whatever all day. You're not there yet. But in terms of how the team is operating, it's obviously not one of the better teams right now. And we spoke to Nolan Jones towards the end of the season. Do you talk to some of the guys there about how quickly you can get there and make an impact because the team is still kind of building themselves back up to being a contender? Many guys we've spoken to are like, hey, it's good to be on a team that's not there yet. I can get my opportunity probably quicker, and I can be part of the rise of the next great ball club there, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Obviously, there's not too much talks, I guess, right now. Right now, I'm just kind of focused on getting better as a player, getting to AA next year and making an impact in AA with my team next year. Obviously, I know the big league team had some struggles this year, but I don't know too many of the guys too well up there, although everybody I've talked to is super, super awesome. Charlie Blackman's a great guy. Everybody up there are great people putting the work in to get better. But right now, yeah, not too much, no. Of course, I want to get up there as quickly as possible and be a big leaguer and stick up there for a long time and really make an impact in Denver. But, right now, I'm not there yet. I got to keep getting better, getting bigger, getting stronger, and help my team win next year wherever I am.
Okay, so we have a lot of young fans that'll watch this show and catch clips afterward and all of that when they get out of school. What would be the number one tip you would give to the modern baseball player that wants to make it to, obviously, the pros and ultimately the big leagues? What would be the one tip that you would give them? Or could give multiple tips, but the one rule is it can't be anything cliche.
All right. Yeah. Can't be anything cliche. It's going to be hard because it's funny how – because I think the cliches when I was growing up, I always just kind of rolled my eyes and said, that's stupid or whatever. It's a cliche. But as I've gotten older, there's two things that I would say. Number one is it's up to you. I remember growing up, in high school, I wasn't as good as I was now, but I knew I had the potential to be, and I really wanted to be more than anybody else. And I remember just kind of saying, it's up to me. You can pay coaches however much you want to. You can go to whatever facility is deeming itself the next big thing in baseball training. You can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, those people aren't going to make the difference. It's up to you. So I just remember being in my basement in high school, working out all the time on my own schedule, hitting with my hitting coach, who's one of my favorite people on the planet, T Works. Just putting in work as much as I could when other people weren't. And that's kind of a big advice I have to other people. So that could be considered a cliche, but looking back with hindsight and looking at how I did things, that's a big thing. It's up to you. Like I said, you can go wherever, pay people however much you want to, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to put the work in outside of that and really get better. The other thing that I would say that is a huge cliche, it's something that I never understood growing up was go have fun. Growing up with me in baseball, everything always felt do or die, regardless if I was 8 years old playing in some all-star tournament, Little League all-star game, playing in a tournament at Ripken or Diamond Nation growing up, or being at Lake Point in high school at a perfect game event. I really hope the kids truly have fun, because it's one of those things where it's such a cliche. It hurts my soul to say it because so many people have said that so long, and it's obviously, of course you should. But the more you enjoy it, the easier it is once you get to pro ball and you're doing it for a living. You can really, I can truly enjoy it more. I think other guys that might be in the trap of not having as much fun growing up, you don't really learn how to love it. So when it turns into a grind, it gets really hard. But the more you love it and the harder you work, the easier it is and the more you enjoy it.
That's awesome. That is well said for a just turned 21-year-old. Good for you. You've definitely grown up if that's the transitions you've made. But now that you've been in pro ball, is there a celebrity Is there a celebrity that you were like, yeah, wow, I can't believe I met this guy? Or if there's no celebrities, any players? Because I know you're jealous. I showered with Chase Utley, so I'm just saying.
That's funny. No, I'm trying to think. Not too many celebrities that I've met. I do have a funny story. We were the Rockies big league team was playing the Angels big league team in spring training. 2 years ago, I think this was my first spring training. So I'm not in big league camp. I'm not in the big league game. I'm just kind of chilling out on the minor league side, walking back to the clubhouses, and I hear 2 golf carts coming behind me. I don't think anything of it. I'm just walking back into the clubhouse, and I remember there's a guy on a golf cart goes like 2 feet to my right. And I just kind of just look over, and like Shohei's on the back of the golf cart just looking at me, just kind of like gives me a little wave. Like I had no clue this guy was here. Before I know it, like Shohei Ohtani's driving right by me on our minor league side on a golf cart going into the game. Like I thank God I had sunglasses on, because I kind of like did one of those at him, because I wasn't expecting that to happen. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. Anyways, I keep walking. He goes about his thing. I hear another golf cart behind me. I'm not looking. I don't care. Sure, you can probably know who I'm going to tell you. Mike Trout is on the back of the golf cart driving right by me as I keep on walking. He's looking at me too with his headphones in. And I was just like, just being a newly drafted high school guy, not expecting 2 of the best players arguably ever to just casually drive by on the back of golf carts. Threw me off a little bit, but it was cool.
Benny, that's called being a big leaguer. One day you'll get there. It's what us big leaguers do. We don't acknowledge the minor leaguers. We look down on Erik Kratz types. We go by with our headphones in. We don't look up.
Yeah.
We're in the back of the
Ohtani
golf
waved
cart.
at him.
I know Ohtani's nice though. Noticed Trout didn't. Trout was like, no.
Trout would definitely wave.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it is
AJ
called
Pierzynski would not wave.
Oh,
He barely says hi to me when they start the show.
thumbs down.
AJ would be like, "I'll talk to you when you're in the bigs."
That's right. I'll talk to you when you get 3
You
years.
definitely said that to a
Until you're
prospect.
arbitration eligible, I don't talk to you, kid.
Did you say that to a prospect ever? I'll talk to you in the bigs.
No, jokingly,
Yeah.
Benny, I've said, I'll talk to you when you're arbitration eligible, rookie. Jokingly. Of course I talk to him.
That's cool though. Like,
No, that's awesome though. But
pass
one
those
day,
guys.
Benny, when you get to that level, you're going to be the guy in the back of the golf cart. So don't forget that Shohei waved to you.
I will not. No, 19-year-old me thought that was very cool.
That's like it's go time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
That's so
cool.
cool.
Well, we'll finish on that. Benny, great to have you on, dude. Really cool story. Oh, and lastly, have you ever met Chase Utley, actually, to wrap up that story? Does he know
I have
about
not.
this?
No, I remember I was little. I was at Citizens Bank Park, and Chase was on the field signing autographs. I was probably 20 rows up, but I was so nervous to go talk to him that I just stayed in my seat and didn't do anything. So I remember my dad was not happy with me after that. So.
All right, we got to work on that. We've got some connections, so we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
We'll have our people talk to Chase's people. We'll get back to you.
Good.
But appreciate it, dude. Enjoy the rest of the ride out there, and we'll see you in spring training, okay?
Of course. Thank you very much for having me on, everybody.
Thank you. Benny Montgomery, Rockies prospect. Good stuff. Wait, Kratz, can you get on that? You probably have Chase's
Chase
info,
lives in
no?
London, doesn't he? Didn't he
I
move
know,
to London?
but he works for, like, he's in baseball. He works for the league.
Yeah, but he barely comes over here. But
I thought he lived in London. Didn't he move to London?
He did. Yeah, they moved. It's
All right.
like 3 years. They're going to be there ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can I ask for this? Like, because I've done this for people when it's, I mean, sometimes the asks
Hey,
are weird,
Chase,
but
will you fly back from London to meet Benny and
no,
Montgomery?
way easier, way easier.
Oh.
Chase, can you send me 30 seconds being like, yo, Benny, what's up? Just heard the story that you had your kid or your brother named after me. Keep doing your thing, dude.
I don't know if it's this way in Chicago for AJ, if there's like a cavalcade of AJs that were born in like 2006-ish.
I'm not going to say there's more than a handful of people that have come up to me and said,
But it is a absolute epidemic in Philly.
Chase
is an absolute epidemic. I'm not demeaning what Benny's story is. I'm not demeaning what you're asking. I'm saying he would probably run out of battery life if he would be making videos for all the people who named their little brothers after them.
Wow. Okay, good to know.
I like it.
But
Let's laugh.
what I was pissed about, if he's such a big Phillies fan, that was the apex of my career. He was 10 years old when I was playing for the Phillies. He didn't mention one thing about watching me play. I'm so pissed.
You should have said that to him.
Did you play?
I mean, sometimes.
He was on the big league Phillies roster.
Sometimes.
Let's
Yeah, but he
slap.
was talking about those World Series.
Yeah, that was he was young for those teams.
All right, Kratz Hats, what do you got?
Kind of to like suffice my Brewers fans, maybe the luck of the Irish will come to them in their managerial search.
That plays perfectly into my slap. I did actually have a line that I wanted to throw out there. I've been talking within the YouTube chat pretty actively today and in the past few days about the one thing that I really want, and I am a big believer in it. I know it's not going to happen. Hire David Ross. The Brewers need to hire David Ross. I'm telling you, I know it's not going to happen.
Couldn't make it as a Cub manager. Why is he?
What do you
gonna
mean
make
couldn't make it? What does that even mean?
He gone.
He gone.
But that doesn't mean he couldn't make it. And also, has there never
didn't
been
make
somebody who's been let go of a job that then has succeeded afterward elsewhere? That happens in baseball all the fucking time. Read the story of Terry Francona, Phillies, and then ends up with the Red Sox, and many, many other stories like that. Kratz, you got to be on my side on this one.
No. But the side that I'm on,
Erik Kratz.
tell me this. Tell me this. How much of an absolute troll redemption story would it be for Counsell to have gone to the Cubs to help the Cubs lose for the next 5 years and just be the ultimate Brewer legend forever?
There is no freaking way. I mean,
tell me it's not real.
It's not real. And you should
And
be
get
on
paid
my
$40
side.
million to do
When
it.
And
a
get
guy
paid $40 million.
It's not happening.
When a guy gets slashed from his gig, go to the other team, have the ultimate chip on your shoulder, and also ratings would freaking skyrocket for those matchups
For
during
the
the
first
season.
one, then people will be like, yeah, whatever.
No,
People
they
wouldn't
wouldn't
care
be
because
over
it's
it.
managers.
They wouldn't be over it. Not if after they win each time.
Not after the Brewers trade Burns and
After
Devin
after they
Williams,
win each time, Ross would go like this. That would be the celebration. Let's go, baby.
Scott loves
on.
trolls.
It's fun.
He's role playing.
That's not even trolling. That's just fun. That's a rivalry.
By the way,
Whatever.
before we go, happy birthday, Edgardo Alfonso, one of my favorite teammates I ever had. Great dude.
Yeah, we do. And we have other players coming up this week. I don't know. They're not in front of me right now, but just follow us on
tomorrow.
socials.
Kevin
We'll tell
Gausman.
you about it.
Oh, Kevin Gausman.
Kevin Gausman tomorrow.
He did okay this year.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I
quite
can't.
well
You know what I
this
can't
year.
wait to ask him about? When A-Rod said he was tipping, I cannot. That is definitely being asked about.
Oh,
tomorrow.
please ask him about that.
The two hits he gave up.
Yeah, we're both homers to one guy. They were the only guy. He was the only guy they told.
Insane.
Royce Lewis.
More of this on
Oh, my.
Thursday. Kenny Ball game on Friday. And Jan Gomes on
Look
Friday.
how happy he is.
And that palm tree. See ya.